best of 3 on our hands for this losers finals between Wonseok and Enrique. 3 of the Pokemon are the same on each team, and 3 Pokemon are a little bit different. Let's see what this game 1 has to offer as we see the leads for both of our players. For Enrique, it is that Charizard and that Incineroar, and for Wonseok, we've got the Charizard and Incineroar. Adam, I definitely need my glasses for the last match. Oh my gosh.
It works. That's the big thing, is it works. And that fake out turn can, of course, give you an opening for your Charizard to weave in something important, a G-Max Wildfire, maybe find an advantage with something like the Max Airstream. Really, really important for these Charizards to try and carve out a lead over one another. That was such a deciding factor that we saw in the winners finals. You know, Wonseok coming out 1 game up on it, down on it a couple other games. But when you're mirroring off like this, you just have to make sure that you're always getting your Charizard into the best position. The Incineroar's Intimidates don't matter here, but the targeting of Fake Out or any kind of additional stat drops in something like the Parting Shot definitely does.
Yeah, you can see that would be a great way for either of these players to pivot around with their Incineroar. But that's the thing about these, you know, mirrored turn zeros, is that it really, really matters how you decide to carve out an advantage and start generating that momentum for yourself, because, you know, the speed control is important, mitigating the damage is important, but it really depends on who goes for what. We are going to see this Charizard Gigantamax here for Wonseok as we see how Enrique decides to match that, and it's going to be with just a Protect Atom. This is pretty slow.
No Max Guard. Enrique trying to hold on to that, but the Protect is not going to be enough to stop that Max Airstream from hitting. So the speed boost comes through on Wonseok's side of the field. Maybe you had to, if you were Enrique, go for the Max Guard there and not allow that to come through. Of course, that does give the Incineroars the opportunity to do exactly what they want. The Incineroar definitely going for it on Wonseok's side, not really getting the damage down that you would require, but, you know, Incineroar just, you know, sat there on Enrique's side, not getting enough done.
Yeah, I mean, that Throat Chop is going to stop all of those sound-based attacks coming out from Enrique's Incineroar. So whether you were trying to go for a Parting Shot or a Snarl, that's not possible anymore. So Enrique is in this position where that Incineroar is sitting on the field without being able to do very much of anything. And I think that's really important, because that puts Enrique in this position where you already had to protect on that first turn, which is very slow. And now you also have this Incineroar that's not going to be really helping you out a whole lot. So we are going to see a switch up here coming out from Enrique. That Charizard going to be switched out for this Porygon 2 that we will see come onto the field. And we are also going to see a massive Max Rockfall now coming out from Wonseok. We already saw how powerful that this move was in that winners finals.
Definitely would have preferred to be landing into the slot where the Charizard was. And actually, Enrique's kind of navigating through a number of these turns very, very nicely, I think. You know, he's taking a little bit of damage. He's not getting much done in return. But 2 of the 3 turns, I'd say, from Wonseok's side, and his Charizard in particular, you know, as in the Gigantamax form, haven't been that impactful. So I think he's probably feeling pretty good about his position now. Does change up the other side of his board, though, with the Zacian coming in place of that Incineroar. Not trying to keep the Incineroar locked down with any more Throat Chops.
No, I mean, now you can see the Flare Blitz come out from the Incineroar and the chip damage coming through from the Sandstorm. But what Enrique has done here is, you're absolutely right, Adam. Even though there hasn't been a whole lot of response to what Wonseok has done in terms of damage, this is great positioning from Enrique. Now that Porygon 2 is on the field, we have seen how powerful a Porygon 2 Max can really be in this format and in this tournament of the Global Exhibition. So maybe we see that here. Maybe we see a Trick Room get set up. There's a lot of options that Enrique can really go with this Incineroar and Porygon 2 duo on the field.
Especially now that the Max Airstream boost is in play on this Charizard. It sounds weird, but there could be a situation where the Trick Room for Porygon 2 comes up, and then it's able to, you know, do the best it can. That Porygon 2, though, is going to be getting targeted down a little bit aggressively here, I think, by Wonseok. It doesn't have a taunt or anything to slow it down on the field, so just throwing attacks into it is certainly one way to deal with the Porygon.
Yeah, Porygon 2 taking that Behemoth Blade. It's not going to hang on, so we're not going to be able to see what Enrique decided to do for this turn with that Porygon 2. But Incineroar just once again doing what it can by dishing out some damage with those Flare Blitzes, and will be taking Wonseok Zacian to about half health. Still taking a lot of recoil damage in return, though.
A lot of recoil, and of course, you know, just really not getting anything to stop this Charizard from getting that knockout on the Porygon 2. Yes, it needed some help from Zacian as well, but that Porygon 2, which could have really mixed things up, especially with this Airstream boost in play, not able to withstand both of those attacks coming through. Wonseok's G-Max turns, or Gigantamax turns, are of course over now, but the speed boost on the Charizard still makes it quite threatening. The Ancient Power is still very much an option, and the speed boost is in play to make sure it outspeeds that opposing Charizard. So Enrique probably going to have to look for an answer pretty quickly, or at least find some Dynamax or Gigantamax turns and really make the most of them. The good thing for Enrique is those G-Max Wildfire ticks between turns aren't going to be doing anything at the current juncture. Those two fire types in the field do not care about that. So maybe just waiting for those to go away with these current pairing on the field could be an important strategy to help out against the amount of damage that is going to come down. But there's the hover of it from Wonseok, just making sure that, you know, I don't want this Charizard to play the game. It is pretty much his strategy and has been in a couple of options.
Enrique is going to switch out the Incineroar and change the weather. It is time for Groudon to make an appearance that is going to help out both of these Charizards for Enrique and Wonseok, as we do see the Solar Power abilities activated. Now Enrique, with Wonseok's Gigantamax going down, has the opportunity to carve out some advantage with his own Gigantamax. So it is time to see that Charizard shine, especially in that sunlight, basking in the glory. Let's see what Enrique can get done with this. It's already down one Pokemon in that Porygon 2, so it really needs to make the most of this. But here's that speed in action, that Ancient Power making a huge mark on Enrique's Charizard, and with Zacian being able to quickly follow suit here with that Behemoth Blade, Enrique lost his Gigantamax right away.
Yeah, I don't think that was the right choice for the Gigantamax there at all. As soon as I saw him lock into it, I was a little curious. He must have known that the opposing Charizard had a Rock-type move, and of course, you know, was going to be moving faster from that Max Airstream, maybe just losing track of that a little bit, and just once again, Wonseok, this combination of Charizard, Zacian, just pick your target, double target it, and get it knocked out, get it out of there. Really devastating turn there for Enrique, losing that Gigantamax Charizard as soon as it hit the field, just not getting any value out of it at all. Now down to just the Groudon and the Incineroar. The Groudon, of course, is going to be getting worn down, as we saw, by the G-Max Wildfire between turns, and with these two physical attackers on the field, I can see exactly what Wonseok wants to do, and I think this is a very smart way to manage the end game. Just start working through it with the Intimidates. Just get those Intimidates in, you know, maybe a parting shot out, just bounce that around, make sure this Groudon can't do anything. The Groudon's best bet right now to try and deal with something like this fast Charizard is hang on and fire back with a Rock Slide, and it's going to be even easier to handle those, potentially just be able to take one on the Charizard if you land enough Intimidates and parting shots and all that good stuff that Groudon players really hate to see.
Oh yeah, I mean, the Incineroar coming in with that Intimidate is going to drop the attack of both the Groudon and the Incineroar for Enrique, and that means that the damage output here is going to be a little bit weak. We will see the Fake Out come out from Enrique's Incineroar, so Charizard's not going to get a chance to move this turn, and that's perfect setup for Enrique to try to claw back into this game one with that Swords Dance for that Groudon.
He's going to need the Swords Dance to keep the attack at a nice, healthy level. But the problem is now the Incineroar's come into the field. The Incineroar has access to Fake Out and can maybe shut down that Groudon for a turn, either forcing it into protecting, and then maybe, you know, you can just punish the Incineroar, get rid of that, and deal with it. The Groudon is still slower than the Charizard and is getting worn down, so has to be a little bit careful, is going to be getting dangerously low over the next few turns. The Protect has come out, and I think Wonseok's called this and played around it quite nicely.
Yeah, here's the Fake Out onto the exposed Incineroar. It will bring Enrique's Incineroar down to its berry range, so that Citrus Berry is going to help a lot in order to get that HP back up. But nice call by Enrique, just to make sure that that Charizard is not going to land too much damage onto this Groudon. But time's running out here, Adam.
Yeah, that should be the last turn of the G-Max Wildfire residual damage, and you've got the Groudon in a very susceptible position thanks to it, just by getting it below half. That makes it so much easier to knock out, and you're still much faster than it. You're faster, and you've got it nice and low. You don't have to worry, will it get it? It definitely gets it when you use the Sun, the Blast Burn, the Solar Power. That Groudon tried to set up for an end game position, but it was just never afforded that opportunity. That turn 1 max airstream has caused so many problems throughout this game. And I mean, the Charizard just being the fastest thing in the field is great news. Not having any boosts on Enrique's side, a bit of a problem. And once again, it happened in the last game. Can we get an Incineroar sweep? I think the answer is pretty clear, even for Enrique, unfortunately, in this game.
Yeah, Incineroar just isn't fast enough to be able to deal with that offensive pressure coming out from Wonseok's Pokemon, and it's so unfortunate as well that Enrique's Porygon 2 couldn't survive the double in coming out from Wonseok in those first few turns. So this first game going over to Wonseok Jung from Korea, and we are now at the brink of sending Wonseok closer to the grand finals in this best of 3.
That was a very comprehensive game from Wonseok, leading off in turn 1 with a nice max airstream, got himself in an advantage with his Charizard, and then just pushed that advantage throughout the rest of the game. Whatever Enrique was throwing in, and something he's been doing a lot throughout this tournament, is making very good tactical switches, being able to find those openings, not take too much damage, set up Light Screen, set up Reflects with the Grimmsnarl, and play around that way. So it's been a really different game plan that time. I feel like everything he did kind of got a little bit punished. And then he managed to just get caught. When he did decide he needed to Gigantamax his Charizard, immediately caught out. That Zacian was in the right position, that Charizard was much faster as well, and was just able to use the Ancient Power, a really nice bit of team building actually from Wonseok, identifying that the mirror is going to be a thing. We've now seen it in a couple games, put in an absolute shift, both as Max Rockfall and as Ancient Power, and deal with opposing Charizards. He managed to deal with the opposing Charizard, leaving the Regieleki at home too. So really nicely done, really well executed. And I think Enrique has to go back to the drawing board a little bit after that one.
Yeah, maybe a couple of adjustments need to be made here, especially when it comes to how and when to use that Gigantamax, especially now knowing in this closed team sheet format that that Ancient Power is a move that Wonseok's Charizard is holding. Now Enrique can really play around that heading into this game number 2. Let's see if Enrique can make the comeback and tie up this series, because we're going to get a rematch either way, depending on which player moves forward into the grand finals, where Leonardo Bononomi is sitting there and waiting. Enrique is going to start off this game with Incineroar and Porygon 2, and Wonseok is changing things up a little bit, bringing that Regieleki this time around at him.
Regieleki would be a really nice answer to a potential Charizard. He saw that in the last game, thought, you know what, I'll keep trying to push through and I'll bring a Regieleki here. This is a bit of a better lead for Enrique. I think he's going to get a little more time to set things up. You know, as long as he targets something like the Fake Out correctly into not the Dynamax Pokemon from Wonseok's side of the field, the Porygon would then be able to take one of the attacks, no matter which Pokemon decides to Dynamax, and go for it. I think the Porygon would be able to take it a little bit better, and then maybe set up a Trick Room if that's the way he wants to play the game. That's something, you know, a lot of people try and do with the Porygon too, especially when you're looking at two exceptionally fast Pokemon over on one side of the field, in the Charizard and the Regieleki in particular.
You think that would be a really great game to call for Enrique to go ahead and bend the timeline just a little bit here. And let's see if that's going to pay off. Enrique was not able to do much with that Porygon 2, and we will see a Protect come out from Wonseok, just playing it really safe. Incineroar does hit that Protect on the Regieleki, but it's all about to what this Charizard can do. It hits the Raw Hurricane here into the Porygon 2, and it looks like it's still going to be able to get the Trick Room off. No confusion here.
Yeah, no way to guarantee an answer onto the Porygon 2, so fishing a little bit there if you're Wonseok, looking for the confusion to hit and stop that Porygon from moving, but no guaranteed way to do it. I like that Wonseok plays it smart and just protects that Regieleki. It's very, very frail. You don't want to just be giving up free damage, and of course his has the Focus Sash as well, so keeping that Focus Sash intact means even in a Trick Room, if it's getting attacked, it's going to be able to take one of those hits, maybe able to start firing back. Wonseok holding off on the Gigantamax and the Charizard here. I mean, could have got more damage down, but knew that the only way out would have been to land that confusion on the Hurricane. So kind of nicely done there. Didn't quite get what he wanted. Didn't get that much damage down either. Could pose some problems. And I wonder how well Enrique's Pokemon selection is going to be able to capitalize on this Trick Room. That Groudon could come in and be very problematic, especially against the Regieleki and the Charizard.
Yeah, here's the Incineroar, just making sure that that Charizard is going to stay safe for later as Enrique goes for a huge Snarl onto the Regieleki and Incineroar on Wonseok's side. It's going to definitely affect the amount of damage that this Regieleki is going to be able to output, but not before Porygon 2 is able to go for a nice attack into that Regieleki, just dealing some damage with that Thunderbolt, but a nice hit back from the Regieleki with that Volt Switch will be able to position some of those Pokemon around on Wonseok's side a little bit better, hovering over that Zacian in preparation for maybe a big Dynamax or Gigantamax from Enrique.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is with Enrique, he's got control of the board now with his speed, but he's not threatening all that much damage at the current juncture. You know, he's getting those Snarls down, the Wonseok's getting the Regieleki away from those, resetting its special attack, but the Porygon 2 is not threatening all that much damage in return, especially when they have limited movesets, you know, when they don't have the depth of move pool that some of the more, you know, prominent attackers would have. And the Zacian also has access to something like the Sacred Sword as well, which Sacred Sword obviously going to hurt this Porygon 2 quite a lot. The fake out nicely done here from Wonseok, just buying time, making sure that Incineroar can't Flare Blitz and doing its best. Porygon 2 though not feeling safe, and this safe defensive turn from Enrique could get punished here.
Yeah, it looks like just a substitute coming out from Wonseok, though, just to buy some time and really prepare that Zacian to be able to hit those big Behemoth Blades and Sacred Swords when it can. Porygon 2, just a really great call from Enrique to kind of recognize that this is a good opportunity to go for the recover, whether it's going to buy Porygon 2 another life, or it's just going to heal it back up to full. So Porygon 2 sitting in a really good position right now, and I really like how Enrique is playing this game too, just playing it a lot slower, more calculated, and making sure that he is in a prime position to get something set up here, like using this parting shot to rotate through to another Pokemon.
Yeah, the parting shot, always a nice choice, lowering those stats, getting around and being able to switch to a Pokemon that can probably take a slight bit more advantage of this Trick Room. That's really something you need. The Charizard might not be it, but probably feeling like the Charizard's in a very safe spot right now. Porygon's trying its best, though, with the Thunderbolt to break through this substitute, so the Charizard will be afforded the opportunity to hit it, but it's not enough to break that sub.
No, it's not. That substitute is going to stick around, but Incineroar is not, using that parting shot to lower the attack and special attack of that Porygon 2 to allow Wonseok to switch into his own Charizard. So both Enrique and Wonseok right now are really preparing for this Trick Room to expire and be allowed some really big damage. Nice Sacred Sword, though, going on to Enrique's Charizard just to get some good damage in before the Gigantamax starts.
Was probably hoping it was going to be an Incineroar when the Sacred Sword landed in that slot, but the parting shot, very smart from Enrique to get it out and get it safe. It's very awkward seeing two Charizard playing off against each other in, of course, a Trick Room, but you know, you have to be careful. You can't be max airstreaming unless you're at the end of the Trick Room. The Zacian still being safe behind the substitute means, of course, the Porygon 2, if it wants to allow the Charizard on Enrique's side to be able to hit that Zacian and get a knockout over there, does have to spend time focusing on it. Would be essentially a double target into that Zacian slot, and that could straight up allow Wonseok's Charizard to start putting down damage and start causing problems on its own. So this could be a really important turn. The Charizard's leaving. Enrique is not feeling it in this Trick Room, even though it's against the Zacian, and just wants that Incineroar back in, a Pokemon he's a little more comfortable to be playing with in the Trick Room.
Well, that's the thing, right? Is Incineroar can, you know, help a little bit with just putting on the pressure to that Zacian, but it's still behind that pesky substitute. So there's not really a good way to actually engage with that Pokemon yet. So Wonseok is taking full advantage of this. Gonna go ahead and Gigantamax anyway and see what he can get done this turn. He's already up one game in this series, so this could just be a great way to finish everything out now. Zacian is going to go for a Protect, just play it very, very safe. Does not want that substitute to fade, especially after taking that Thunderbolt hit. And that's a good call. Porygon 2 targeting down that slot as Charizard's time to shine with that max airstream going right into the Porygon 2. And that does put it in range where Enrique is going to want to either switch it out or keep it safe with a recover, and he might not be able to do that if the Trick Room's going to expire this turn.
Yeah, the Trick Room's going to be running out, and that's going to be, that's the time that this Charizard wants to play. Wonseok really needs to get through to the end of it, make sure that he's able to use those max Airstream boosts as soon as the Trick Room is done. Of course, it does get a little bit harder. You don't have the Protect option available on the Zacian right now, but it's still got the Substitute up, so that Substitute causing problems, and being able to get through it. So I really like the way Wonseok's played this game. Enrique got exactly what he wanted early on, but I really don't feel like he's been able to capitalize it at all. When you look at traditional Trick Room teams, they have a Trick Room setter and a Trick Room sweeper. Now there's nothing that's been able to deal all of that damage in this following turn, as Porygon 2 knows it's in trouble, knows it has to potentially leave the field.
Gotta save it for later, but at this point, Enrique wasn't pressuring a whole lot of damage with that Porygon 2, and if you're trying to use it for Trick Room, it might be too little too late. Let's find out as Wonseok's Charizard goes for yet another max Airstream, and as quickly as the Charizard gets switched in, it goes down. A nice speed boost coming in for Charizard and Zacian.
Yeah, and this is, as you can see, we're out of the Trick Room now, and these max Airstreams are going to be hugely problematic, but it's another game for Enrique where he just isn't able to do enough, of course, with his own Charizard. At least he didn't burn the Gigantamax on it this time, but it's still got to do absolutely nothing in this game, and that is a huge problem, I think, for Enrique. Now that Porygon 2 has to come in, it's going to be able to get outsped, and there's not going to be a fake-out threat alongside it. So yeah, Enrique kind of forced into this Groudon play right now, but you've just handed over a boost to the Charizard in its solar power, and of course just a general boost from it being in the sun as well. So this game looking really good for Wonseok. Now he's made it through all of those nasty little Trick Room turns at the beginning.
Yeah, it's so great to see how Wonseok is kind of playing around these Groudon matchups, because despite having an option on his own team to be able to set the sun for the Charizard, what better than to let your opponent do it for you? So Enrique going to be bringing in that Groudon, setting up this sun, and potentially setting Wonseok up for success. But not before Enrique has something to say about it. Going to Dynamax the Groudon and hope that it's going to be enough to keep him in this series and tie it up after a game win here, as we will see Groudon just max guard, hopefully baiting in some of the damage that Wonseok was targeting into that Pokemon.
Yeah, really wants to make sure that it doesn't just get hit by the big attacks of this Charizard, and block the Charizard as well from setting up that residual damage with G-Max Wildfire, as we see here. That said though, Incineroar gets immediately felled by this Zacian, the Sacred Sword just connecting right there, being able to pick up the knockout on the Incineroar, forcing Enrique down to his final two, the Porygon and Groudon. The big thing here though is Enrique, this is the time you need the Trick Room. This is the absolute moment you need the Trick Room, and I just don't think he's going to be afforded the opportunity to put that into play.
No, the Charizard is so fast. And also, knowing that Groudon just max guarded, it's not likely it's going to go for the max guard again. So Wonseok in this position can feel really comfortable just trying to target down that Groudon before it's even able to get off some type of attack. And then you're left with your whole team of Pokemon versus this Porygon 2. So we will see the Behemoth Blade come through from Wonseok's Zacian. It's going to find its mark onto the Groudon at that 2 times base power, bringing it super, super low. Can Charizard finish the job? Yes, yep. It does. Groudon going down here, and Enrique is down to Porygon 2, and that is it for this series.
Yeah, the Porygon 2 is not going to be able to put the comeback on. It did set up the Trick Room. It wanted to help out the Groudon and was maybe thinking that the Groudon would be left alone in that turn. But no, Wonseok making the very correct call to just say, okay, your Groudon just max guarded, whatever. I'm just going to take it out. So even if you do set up the Trick Room, this one's over. And this does mean that the grand finals we're going to be looking at is exactly a rematch of the winners finals. A nice performance from Enrique throughout this whole tournament. He is fighting back. Porygon's giving it its all. Mad respect to the Porygon here, but a Sacred Sword from the Zacian enough to wrap this one up. A fantastic run again by Enrique.